Welcome back. I'm Gus, I'm an editor, an animator, and a visual effects artist. Welcome to episode 8 of Brick Film School, the series where I teach you how to get started on your filmmaking journey. Today I'll be covering how I do mouth animations and how you can get started now or whenever you're ready. Mouths are not a requirement for animation or Lego animation, so don't feel like you have to do this right away. The reason why I eventually started into mouth animation is because it just adds a whole other level of emotion to your character, and I just enjoy seeing what I can do with that. But don't feel like it's a requirement. Some of the best Lego animations I've seen, or animations in general that I've seen, have had no face animation. So this is just another tool for the old toolbox. If you enjoy or learn anything from this video, click the like button and consider subscribing. I upload just about every single week, so you're not going to want to miss it. Also, if you missed my most recent animation, The Interrogator, be sure to check that out. I put a lot of work into it, so if you're interested, be sure to give it a watch. Getting started. Mouth animation is a pretty simple effect that pretty much anyone can do. It is simply one of those things that just takes a ton of time, and there are no clear workarounds. But I've learned a couple tips and tricks over the years that I'm going to be sharing with you here today, so be sure to stay tuned. The elements I'll be using here today are custom elements that I created specifically for the Interrogator and future projects. They're insanely detailed, created specifically for Lego figures, using textures inspired by the actual Lego printing process. And these specific elements are actually available on my Patreon right now, so if you're interested and want to support the channel in the process, be sure to check that out. I'll just leave that as the first link in the description below. Also, if you're looking for just a free, quick option, a link to Adobe's free 2D talk cycle as well. The method we'll be learning. Today we'll be covering a method I've been using for several years now, which is just removing a Lego mouth and replacing it with a talking mouth. The specific effect I used for my most recent film, The Interrogator, is essentially the same effect. It was just using the CC cylinders effect in After Effects, and it was tracking the face in 3D space, so it's a whole other time crunch, so it's not really the best place to get started, and I will only be using that method for very special occasions in the future. I'll still be using this original mouth method for many years to come. Today we're using the faster, more time-efficient method, which is just erasing a mouth and replacing a mouth. Hey, welcome back to Computerland. We're just going to be doing a quick mouth animation as an example of how I do things. So we start with our elements. We have an animation clip. I'm just using this clip from The Mandalorian. And then I just have this random voice clip that I just recorded.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Short and sweet. And then you just use your mouth animation pack of choice. And so you have all your mouth positions here for A, U, E, C, F, L, T, H, M, P, M, B, blah, blah, blah. So we start by having a project in whatever editing software you prefer to use. So we're just going to take our animation, our voiceover, plop that in, drop our animation into the timeline, drop the voiceover top of it.
What are you talking about?
Now that you have your little animation clip lined up how you want it, you're gonna just start into the mouth animation. And usually, like how I used to do it, I would record myself just talking with my phone or iPod or whatever, just so I could see my mouth moving with the words as a reference. But I've kind of been doing this so long that I can just kind of visualize it in my head and just get it done quicker. So that just comes with time. So I guess we gotta figure out what we're starting with. So let's listen here.
What are you talking?
What? So I guess we'd start with an O position. What? And then we'll go to an A. Wah. And then we'll go to a T. What? What? And then this we can either drop back to an A. What are you talking about? But the way I said this line, it's kind of what are you? So I guess I could drop a U in there, just because it's like a little bit more dramatic. You talking about. O, then back to T, talking about, T-A, to E. And we're just dropping these in just so we know what the mouth positions are going to be. We'll go back in for a second pass to line it up frame by frame.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
And I just want to iterate before we continue. There is a way in like an Adobe animation program to have mouth animation just kind of automated and done by recording your face. The reason I do this frame by frame is just to have that ultimate control and getting a very specific look and performance. It looks better in my opinion, and that's why I do it this way.
What are you talking about?
So now that your mouth animation is lined up with your voiceover, we're going to jump into After Effects. If you're not just working the Adobe suite, you're just going to want to export your animation, export your mouth element, and then put them into After Effects or an After Effects-like program like Hit Film. I just select all these, and then I replace with After Effects Composition. We'll just save our After Effects file as mouths. Okay. And then you'll see it all popped in here. I'll just pre-compose the mouth positions all together.
What are you talking about?
We're going to do what we learned in the green screen episode, which is using key light. Since this is a digital key, it'll just be perfect right away, so there's no fiddling with it. So then you have this 2D mouth element ready to be positioned. We're just going to go ahead and press this toggle switches / modes button at the bottom here because we're not seeing the tools we want in this area here. So we'll press that button. Now we get a new set of tools, and we're going to want to turn on this square icon for the mouth layer. That basically gives us some extra rotation tools. I just pressed R to get the rotation up here. If you turn that off, you just get the standard, but if you turn this on, you just get extra rotation to work with in more of a 3D space, and that's what we want when doing this, especially when he is at a side angle here. So from here, what I usually do is just switch gears and jump to removing the mouth. There are multiple ways you can do this, but the way that works the most time efficiently for me, duplicate your animation layer by pressing Command D. We'll make a little mask right here. So we create a mask here, feather that a little bit, just like 2 maybe, just to start out. I'm going to lock that mask, and then I'm going to scale this straight up. And this is going to act as our like clean plate for his face. And what's nice about doing it this way is you actually get the reflections as they should be on the face. I'm going to unlock the mask layer so I can mess with that again. And then just start messing around. My feather is up a little bit too high for this, so I'm going to turn it down to 1. And there you go. Now his mouth is gone. So you're just going to want to go ahead and do this frame by frame. I'll do a few frames here and then we'll jump ahead. You're going to want to turn on your mask path. Make sure those keyframes are turned on by pressing the stopwatch. Then you press P for position, and then you turn on that stopwatch as well. Then you can press U while your layer is selected, so then you can see every layer that has some keyframes on it. And so when we track forward and we need to reposition this clean plate, we'll be able to readjust our mask without ruining anything. And also eventually we'll run into frames where we need to move the position as well, because the eyes or the mouth will start creeping into where our mask is, and then we'll have to adjust the position keyframes. Okay, that's all right. It doesn't have to look perfect because eventually your mouth is just going to be plopped over this anyway, which is going to be distracting from any little imperfections. So we're going to adjust the position here, and then I'm going to adjust my mask. There you go. We have 3 frames. Incredible. So you can see this is very time consuming, but it's just part of the process. And yes, if your animation style doesn't have as many frames in it, or people are able to stay still longer, yeah, just erase the mouth. You just use standard pencil eraser. Then you can just have a face without a mouth in person, and then just add the mouth in later fully. You really do have to work with whatever is going to be most time efficient for your animation style, so be sure to keep that in mind as you move forward.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so you can see just, we have a couple frames here where the hand goes in front of the face. I'm just gonna duplicate my base animation layer, put it on top, just mask around the hand, and then we just have this here. I'm just keeping it real rough still because This is just for an example. I have other projects that are new that I have to work on, so I'm just giving you a quick example here.
What are you talking about?
Then, next step is putting the mouth
Talking about.
on top.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
So you can see it's not tracked to the face at all. There are different ways to go about this. Either you just do it manually, which a shot this short, I may just do it manually just because it's like, okay, he's facing the same way the whole time. It's relatively easy. Another option, this may save more time. This is basically to track the face, or at least what is left of the face. You're gonna want to choose a high contrast point on the face, which is usually an eye pupil. We click on motion tracker, we line this up. I'm just gonna see how this one track works. Okay, it's like, okay, but it's not great. This is the problem with tracks in general, is they're kind of just stupid. So tracking is a good thing to try to just see, like, wow, it just happened to work this time. It only takes a few seconds to see, so why not give it a try if it can save you time, if it actually does work. So you can see it mostly worked, so I'm just cleaning up here so I can show you what to do from here. So from here you have your track looking decent. You're going to want to go here and look at motion target, and it's set to pre-comp 1, which is correct. If it's not set to the right target, your tracking data will just go to something you don't want it to, and then you'll lose it, and you'll be like, you know, what the heck happened? So if you need to change where the target is, you press edit target, and then you select the proper layer. We're on pre-comp 1, which is the mouth, so that's going to work. Make sure you go to frame 1 of the clip, and then press apply, and then it's tracked to that eye.
What are you talking about?
So from there you can just select your position. So you just, you know, press P for position, select the position layer, and it'll select all your keyframes. And then you go up here, click on one of the gray boxes, and then just move it to wherever you want it to be.
What are you talking about?
You can see the perspective isn't shifting properly, but the motion is tracked. From there, you just go frame by frame with your rotation tools to line it up just right. X, Y, Z. So from here, you can see it doesn't look like it's on the face. It looks like it's a CG element, and that is because the black and the white colors aren't matching the scene. And to work with that, you're going to want to go to your effects and presets and type in levels. Well, drag it to your mouth layer, then just go to a frame where the teeth are showing, and then you can turn that white down. Mess around with these, see what happens. I mean, that looks pretty decent in terms of a somewhat brightness match. And then something you're also going to want to do is go to your opacity in your mouth layer and just turn that down, maybe even just to, I don't know, maybe 97. Okay, so that's already looking a little better. And then we do color balance, just the standard. Then we will adjust the color to match, because that's the other thing that's wrong, is it just looks kind of just looks standard black and white, while the face kind of has different tones in it. Like you can see there's more you know, red and green tones in the eyes than in this very just washed out mouth. So you just kind of mess with this to match that color as best as you can. And obviously the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the better you'll get at it. Okay, that's already looking a little better.
What are you talking about?
And then the cherry on top that really makes the mouth work properly is adding blur to it. You can use camera lens blur or Gaussian blur. Just for example's sake, we're going to use Gaussian blur just because it works faster. But just use whatever you want in terms of a blur. But then you just turn that up to a blur that matches this edge, essentially.
What are you talking about?
So you can see that matches
What are you talking about?
pretty well.
What are you talking?
The thing that's kind of giving this away at this moment is this hand moving in front of the mouth.
What are you talking about?
And there you go. That's kind of how you do it. Obviously, there are tiny things you can do just to kind of poke it closer and closer into something that looks perfect, but it really does come down to time and the time you have to work with on the shot. Some shots I spend more time on than others, and that kind of shows in the result, because you can really just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until these look super, super nice. So while this isn't perfect, these are all the techniques I use to blend the mouth in it. But yeah, obviously you can really refine it down to what you see in my videos. Typically we go into a Q&A portion of the video at this point, but since most questions around this topic were simply, how do you do mouth animation? I figured we'd just leave it out for this week and jump back to it next week. So be sure to follow me on Instagram if you're interested in being a part of the next Q&A. And there you go. I hope this was helpful and taught you a thing or two about the world of face animation. If you have any further questions on this topic or know what you want to see next, be sure to comment that below. Thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. And I'll see you next Saturday. On to the next one.